Dean Riegel, Summer Massey, and now Harry Griffin will be running for Charleston City Council's District 10 seat. In this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups, I speak exclusively with Harry one-on-one. And be sure to download the free Quintin's Close-Ups app in your Apple or Google Play stores. Well, Harry, it is so good to see you.
Good to meet you, Quintin.
Likewise. You know, this is my first time actually meeting you.
Yes, sir.
And I know you reached out to me on Facebook.
Yes, sir.
Let me go back to Facebook because your Facebook profile page says this: family man, sports fan, music lover, candidate for Charleston City Council District 10.
Yes, sir.
Let me stop there. Why Harry Griffin? Why Charleston City Council?
Well, Quintin, the first most important thing is I've lived in Shadow Moss pretty much my entire life. Our family, we moved there from Melrose, also in West Ashley, when I was 7 years old. And as soon as I got to Shadow Moss and got in the realm of District 10, I fell in love. I love the family atmosphere. I met my best friends growing up in that neighborhood, and I had the best memories ever. And I want my kids one day to have the same family upbringing that I was able to get in Shadow Moss. And really all the surrounding neighborhoods in District 10, I think we're really tight-knit, and I think everybody looks out for each other. And you can go through each neighborhood and you can find a lot of your friends that you grew up with, and I think that's just the best part of it.
Wow. Let me continue on Facebook because you said this on August 11th. You said this quote: "I'm humbled to announce that I will be running for Charleston City Council representing the District 10. Let me stop there again because I'm wondering, when you think of District 10, what sticks out to you?
Well, like I said, the first thing that sticks out to me is family. And I think lately we've been lacking an active voice.
Okay.
And that really influenced my decision to run, especially with the devastation that we've seen with the drainage issues in the past 3 years. And then the traffic. You know, luckily the city has decided to do a moratorium, but I would like to say to you and to everybody that I do not think a moratorium should be lifted until action has taken place. And with all of that and those issues, I thought that now is the best time to run. Because we have to set ourselves up for the future. You know, we can't think in the past anymore. We can't listen to old ideas. We need a new voice. And I want to help bring that to District 10 in West Ashley.
Where are those new ideas coming from?
Well, they're coming from me. They're coming from my background at the Citadel. They're coming from the values that I was taught when I was younger. And really, the biggest are integrity, honor, respect, but also listening, being an active listener. And that's one of the first things that we're taught at the Citadel. Your first year, can you listen? And that's what I think we need to do. We need to quit talking as much. We need to listen a little bit more. We listen to the constituents and what they want, and we fight for what they believe in.
And one of those people who were listening to you earlier was Ben Doyle, who's with Palmetto Carriage Works. And I know that you took a tour of that particular facility. When you think of the Animal Society versus the carriage companies, what plays in your mind?
Well, the one thing I have to say about Palmetto Carriage is that they've been around since 1972. They're our oldest carriage company. They treat their horses very, very well. They follow all the protocol. They go above and beyond. Now, I know a lot of people don't know this, but in the city of Charleston, it has been passed that no future barns will ever be in downtown Charleston. So these carriage companies that we have left, they represent a industry that we may lose, not only from the fight with the Animal Society, but also with the fight of no new businesses, no new barns can be brought. Now, Ben does a great job of making sure that he rotates the horses out. His family has a huge farm on Johns Island.
Right.
They at least have one or two stables coming back and forth each day, bringing them back and forth, new rotation every day. And the horses spend more time off than they do on. I think Ben said they might spend 46% maybe in that realm on, but they have more time off. And then another thing that people may not understand, and even I didn't understand this, where is he getting these horses from? Well, they're coming from Amish country.
Right.
They're trained to pull carriages, and like Ben said, and I think he said it best, it's you can't just expect a horse to go from Amish country to a home atmosphere. By being part of the carriage tours, he gets them ready to have a very peaceful retirement life. He gets them from that first step to the end step to where they could be a perfect family home. And he's got people, a huge list of people that, you know, would love to have horses down the line, and he values that, and he takes a lot of responsibility in making sure that these horses are treated very, very well, and I'm very respectful of Ben.
I got to go back to that question that I just asked you, because I don't think you heard what I said, but I'm humbled to announce that I will be running for Charleston City Council, representing District 10. What is the biggest difference between District 10 now and, say, 5-10 years ago?
The biggest difference has got to be the overdevelopment.
Okay.
We developed very quickly, and we developed very vastly in a small amount of time. More homes are in the process of being developed. Long Savannah is a project that the city of Charleston has already approved. It's currently stalled by the moratorium. However, my biggest concern with that and the development is a moratorium is put in place to kind of correct some issues, and overdevelopment is one. But if we lift the moratorium at the end of the drainage study without corrective action being put in place, then building is going to continue. The problems are going to continue because corrective action has not yet started. So my biggest thing is I want to make sure I stress that a moratorium has to stay in place, and it has to be extended because it's going to end in November. It needs to be extended because until the drainage study is completed and action from city is put into place, we cannot build. It's going to devastate District 10.
Where did politics come into all of this?
I don't really look at myself as a politician. I look at myself as an active voice. I look at myself as somebody who strives to help people that don't necessarily have that voice or want that voice. You know, so a lot of people have great ideas, but don't like to be put out in the public. I don't mind taking on that responsibility, and I've told everybody that I've met since I announced that I was running that I will always answer your phone calls. I will always answer your emails, and I will help make sure that your voice is heard. I am not in this for personal gain. There's nothing that I want to get out of this besides making sure that for future generations, District 10 does not change, that it continues to be a family-oriented atmosphere, because there's amazing people in our district, amazing, absolutely amazing, and I wouldn't trade what I've been brought up in for anything in the world, and I want it to stay that way.
2 questions. Where has that voice for District 10 gone, in your mind?
The voice for District 10, I don't want to say anything bad, but all I'll say is we've had the same elected representative for District 10 council member for 8 years, and I don't think that voice is active anymore. I don't know where it's gone, but I think that there needs to be somebody who's going out and getting results. You know, I read the Post and Courier every single day,
Sure.
every morning when I wake up, and more I'm seeing from our local politicians. Well, maybe it's the Department of Transportation's fault. Maybe it's Charleston County's fault. Maybe it's the city of Charleston's fault. But nobody is taking action, and nobody is taking responsibility. We keep blaming everybody else, and we keep saying that we're going to get to it tomorrow, or get to it next week, get to it next year. We need to get to it today.
Obviously, if you were to be elected on City Council, you'd be working obviously with Marvin Wagner, Keith Waring, Bill Moody.
Yes, sir.
Talk to me about how your relationship is with them right now as we speak.
I have yet to meet Keith. I would love to. I've reached out to him. I hope to meet him soon. I know my family has been in Charleston for a long time. I had a great upbringing, and my father was great friends with the Moody family. I have yet to have a good conversation with Mr. Bill, but I'd love to do that. But and Marvin Wagner, I think he's an amazing man. Our families have known each other for a long time. He's been a great influence in my life, and especially recently, you know, he's kind of helped me make sure I understand the process. And I'm very thankful for anybody that wants to reach out and help me, because you know what, I am young, but I'm ambitious, and I'm going to get results, but I want to make sure I do it the right way, and I want to make sure that I do it with absolute integrity and honor at all times.
How's that process right now in your mind?
So far, it's going great. You know, every day I get up, I go to work, I get off work, and I go home, and I knock on doors every day till dusk.
Wow.
I do that, and also starting tomorrow, I'll be standing at the intersection of Beast Ferry and Glen McConnell, and then over at Drayton Hall Elementary, and some of the other places down 61. Standing out there with my signs, just trying to get my name out there a little bit, because youth can sometimes be looked at as a negative, but I think in this case it's a positive, because like I've said before, we have a lot of old-fashioned ideas, and Charleston is a very historic city, and there's nothing wrong with having culture and tradition. However, we're in the 21st century now, and we have to look towards the future. And that's something that I might be able to represent. And I think I do represent that well, because I grew up with a great family. I went to the Citadel, and I've lived in this district. For the future, how are we going to get there? And I think with some younger voices, working with the people that have done it before, and I'm always humbled by that, and I'll always open ears, always respectful. But we have to work together. We can't just let city councils, sit with a lot of older traditions and not usher in some new ideas, and I want to bring that to the table.
What is your definition of Charleston City Council right now?
From what I've seen, there's Charleston City Council is sort of made up of a lot of different councils. You have, and it makes sense. You have council members that represent downtown.
Right.
You have council members that represent part of James Island. You have council members that represent West Ashley.
Right. And
you have council members that represent Johns Island, Mr. Wagner. The key concept of that is, how can we all come together and make sure that when issues come about, we don't be narrow-minded and only thinking about what our district has as needs, which obviously your constituents, you're going to always think about their needs. That's what it represents. But also, how can we also come together and make sure that we look at the greater good of the city as a whole? So working with different parts, sort of like working in Congress. You have Democrats, you have Republicans, you have votes that take place, and you have swing votes. Everybody has to work together in order for things to get passed. Same thing with city council, and I want to see that happen.
You're going to go back and knock on doors, obviously, tomorrow, and you're going to...
I'm going to do it today.
Oh, wow.
As soon as this is over, I'll be knocking on doors.
And obviously, when you meet those people one-on-one, what's the first question to you from them?
The first question is drainage. Always. That's what they want to know, how I'm going to fix it. And I tell them what I just told you.
Right.
Moratorium until we have corrective action in place. City has to take action before we can start building. And in the future, the building has to be, it needs to be a little more necessary, and it needs to be planned out correctly. We have to make sure all of the plans make sense. We need to make sure retention ponds are set up ahead of time. We need to make sure that basins are not overflowing with water, so we don't have the crises that we just saw this week. Hickory Farms, I don't know if you saw it.
Right.
You have cars parked all up and down Bees Ferry because they can't even get into their neighborhood. You've got trucks that come to the main entrance, people hopping in pickups to be able to take them to their homes. That's just it's not good, and it's got to change, and it has to change now.
Speaking of which, describe to me the following one word: Crosstown Christian Church.
In one word, I'd have to say it's a lake. It looked like a lake when we drove by it. Unfortunately, that church is built on very low ground.
Right.
So a lot of, obviously they expect a little bit of flooding. But I saw a gentleman with water up to his chest trying to swim to the front doors to get in the doors. Crosstown Church and Hickory Farms are now the staple of what bad drainage looks like. And we just have to work at it, and we have to actually take action. I'm hoping and praying that the drainage study creates alternatives that make sense and that can be put into action very quickly. And if that happens, then we can start making changes, and change can be good. And I think everybody will be happy when they can get to their homes at the end of the day, when they're not praying that when it rains, man, I hope my yard's not flooded up to my garage, and I think that we can get there, but it's going to take a lot of action.
Bees Ferry Road.
Bees Ferry Road is supposedly, with Long Savannah and everything else, it could be a center of commerce eventually. You could drive down Bees Ferry, and next thing you know, you're at the Glen McConnell extension going all the way to Somerville with restaurants and great vision, but and Long Savannah has already been approved, like I said. So it's a great vision. How long is it going to take, though? Are we looking at 20 years down the road? Are we looking at 5 years down the road? You know, Harris Teeter's already said they're going to build on Bees Ferry right there, but when is it going to happen? There's just a lot of unanswered questions. I don't think a lot of people know about Long Savannah like they should. I think that needs to change. We need to have some meetings about Long Savannah, because as far as I know, a lot of people I talk to, nobody really knows. It's, you know, it's been called the circle to nowhere and other things like that.
Right.
That isn't fair to say that, but we have to know. We're the constituents, and I'm speaking as just a member of District 10 right now. We should never be left in the dark about a decision that directly impacts our district. So that active voice of communication, that active line of, hey, what's going on? There's nothing wrong with having meetings. And we've been having these meetings on the drainage study, and now we have a huge meeting coming up about the revitalization of West Ashley.
Right.
There should be meetings about Long Savannah as well, so everybody knows what's going on.
Let me go across town. Sam Rittenberg in one word.
Sam Rittenberg, in one word, I would say confusing right now still. A lot of good things that are going to happen there, but then again, same thing, timeline. When is it going to happen? I think the first good step is the new grocery store right there. I think that whole shopping center right there with Barnes & Noble and everything, it looks great. It could be a start of something new. But then when you talk about Sam Rittenberg, you talk about this revitalization of West Ashley, you head up Sam Rittenberg going towards North Charleston, towards Cosgrove, you have a huge shopping center with, you know, Chuck E. Cheese and some other stuff. The city would like that to become something spectacular. How long will that take? You go back down the other side of Sam Rittenberg, you have Citadel Mall.
Right.
I mean, how long is that going to take? Richard Davis and Trademark Properties, they're doing great things. But the city, with the revitalization in the first draft, they really want to change the Citadel Mall, the surrounding area around it, get rid of some of those parking lots, build some new restaurants, build some new commercial places, and have more of like a Tanger Outlet style where you walk in between. Great ideas, but I really would hate to see West Ashley turn into Mount Pleasant. And from what I've seen, from what wants to happen with Sam Rittenberg and what you know, the sketchings of what could happen on Highway 17, I don't want us to start looking like Mount Pleasant. I think if people wanted to live in Mount Pleasant, they would have moved there already. I mean, they've got lots of development over there. West Ashley has its own character, and we have to keep it that way. You know, we don't want to imitate Mount Pleasant, because that's just not who we are.
The proposed LeGree Bridge bike lane.
I don't think a bike lane should be on the bridge. I do like the plan of building another bridge to put a bike lane there. If you look at the old downtown bridge, it has an extra 6 feet on each side where they could put a lane there. That looks good to me. But it's too hazardous to have a bike lane currently on the actual bridge, I think. But I would like to see a bridge built alongside it that runs directly alongside the bridge, that is a pedestrian lane for walkers and riders.
And I know when I read the city paper just a couple of weeks ago, I know Charleston County Council member Elliot Summy talked about plans of perhaps having a bicycle lane, perhaps on the James Allen Connector.
I've seen people die on. I haven't. When I say I've seen people die, I mean I've heard of motorists. Bicyclists along the connector be killed by motorists, and it's a very, very dangerous bridge with high speeds. I mean, you have people, 55-mile-an-hour limit, could stretch up to 65 or 70 on the open, people driving. It's very, very dangerous. And I will also say at night, it is not lit very well. And it is very, very, very dangerous. So I don't know enough about that. I'm going to have to look into that some more. I'm sure there will be a study done on that, because our city, got to say, give our city credit, we do a lot of studies. But studies have to lead to action. Don't know how safe that is, but we do have to find a way to, there's nothing wrong with making our city more active and creating more bicycle lanes. But, you know, there has to be a lot of thought into that before it happens, because you have high speeds, you have motorists, and then you have people riding bicycles. It could be very dangerous.
Well, Harry Griffin Jr., thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate this.
I'm not actually a junior, but
excuse me.
What I will say is I'm named after my grandfather, and I'm named after my uncles.
Okay.
So I'm named after like 5 family members. So I don't know how you would characterize that.
No
but-
worries. Well, Harry Griffin, thank you so much. I appreciate
Yes, sir.
this.
Thank you, Quentin, for meeting with me. I really
Anytime.
appreciate it.
I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you.